HIPcast is brought to you by Enterprise Social Record.
We have a special treat for all of our health information members. If you've been around the scene for any length of time, even if it just started in October earlier, 2025 October, you might recognize our senior VP, Jennifer. I can't remember your exact title, but Jennifer Mueller, it depends on who you ask. But Jennifer has been our president of the HIMA board. She has served for a long time. She hails from Wisconsin and has a very long, very respected, tenured career there in Wisconsin in our field, and has been in service for as long as I've known who she was. And now she is staff there at AHIMA. And so she has a very unique perspective, a long-term member and, professional in the field, as the president of the AHIMA board, and then now as AHIMA staff. So you've kind of looked under the hood from every angle, Jennifer. It's great to have you on. Today, we're going to talk about the AHIMA conference. We're going to talk about the House of Delegates, had some changes and how they work things out, how they kind of process through things, which I found fascinating. And so we're going to talk about that. And I'm so excited you're here. I'm so thankful that you were willing to come and talk to us. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here, actually. You guys are famous.
Infamous, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on a lot of post office walls across the state of Tennessee. But so, are you still in Wisconsin, Jennifer?
Yes, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin.
Anytime I talk to folks from Wisconsin, I always say, anytime I'm there, I get a spotted cow, and I like
spotted
to go sit on the
cheese.
Spotted
Everywhere
cow and go sit in Madison on the water.
Oh, yeah. They always tell me, next time you come, bring me a 12-pack of spotted cows.
Yeah. I was up in Wisconsin, I guess it was last year, or maybe the year before, and it was, I think, late August. And late August in East Tennessee is, typically 1,010% humidity and upper 90s. And I was up there, and I was in Madison, and I was sitting at the university. There's like a little area right on the water. There was a band playing. There were food trucks. I had a spotted cow. I was like, man, people are sleeping on Wisconsin in August because it's like perfect weather. It's great.
It is perfect. My daughter just got married on August 23rd, and it was absolutely perfect. 73-degree day. No, not a lot of humidity. Yeah, it's a beautiful time of year. So people always ask, why do you live in Wisconsin where it gets so cold? And it's like, that's why, because we get these gorgeous summers, and falls are just amazing.
Yeah, I'm absolutely jealous of that time of year. I'm not jealous of the current time of year that we're heading into.
Yeah,
because I am a wuss when it comes to cold weather. So let's get into the topic. So Shannan and I both are former House of Delegate members and have lived our lives in the HOD with the wonderful battles that go on in there, which it's always fun. To me, it was always a moment of pride to be like, I can go represent my state at our national association, have incredible conversations with other states. I really enjoyed being in the HOD. I do warn people, I'm like, you may get burned out because you see the back end side of things, but at the same time, it's still a positive because you're getting to serve. But it sounds like there was some changes in the HOD meetings, but it sounds like it was all positive. Can you tell us about how that went and what it was like?
Yeah. I know Shannan was there, so I'll let you fill in some of the details around, what you observed as an observer. But, I can definitely tell you that AHIMA made a lot of changes this year because we wanted to make sure that the House meeting this year was a positive experience. As you say, sometimes you never know what you're going to get, but we really wanted to make sure it was a priority this year to strengthen the House. So we invested in a few really important changes. And one you saw, we brought in a parliamentarian. He then was able to kind of walk us through Robert's Rules of Orders in real time. That was at the request of the Speaker and the House. And so it was something that we felt was really important to do. He just was great on calls. He was great ahead of the meetings, working with the speaker. And just, I think it helped when everybody arrived. He sure made sure that we were on track and prepared. Another thing you may have noticed is we brought in a new outside legal counsel because we wanted that person to take a really fresh look at the bylaws and the motions that we had put out there, and just wanted some new perspectives and some clearer interpretations. And so I think that happened, which I think was very well received by the House. And then one thing I was going to say too about the parliamentarian is that he created several training videos, which I think was really appreciated. I know by staff for sure, and I know anybody in the House that took those. Couple other things as I was thinking about the House that I think really helped contribute to a positive experience this year was, we had some advanced hearings. So there were, I think, 2 of them. And that just gave, I think, delegates more time to really understand what they were going to be voting on and be able to interact with their membership a lot earlier. They did also make distinctions between the House hearings. So a House hearing is a non-voting meeting, and it's open to the delegates, but it's also open to the CA leaders and executive directors. And then there's House meetings, which are the more official delegate voting. And so I think that was just helpful to clarify these types of meetings, just to have a little more quality and rigor and order kind of to what's going on. So I think those changes really contributed to a really good session this year. I don't know, Shannan, what did you observe?
Well, a lot of that, I saw a couple of things. So having been in the House and served, and as Seth mentioned earlier, battled through some things, during those annual House Delegates meeting. This year was definitely more effective. This was the first time I remember in years that the House got out earlier than scheduled because the effectiveness of the changes that were made this year. One of the things that I appreciated was the hearings that you mentioned. If you're a member, if you've ever served in the House Delegates, it's very obvious when you go to those meetings which component associations have prepared and kind of divvied up the discussion. Sometimes you may only have 3 bylaws changes that you're considering. Sometimes there might be 17. I think that was last year. I think it was 17 or 14 or some ridiculous number. But the point is, you're not always, all CAs are not equally prepared. Some of that comes from the level of support that they have. Some don't have an executive director and they're solely volunteer. And it's really hard. Some are really small and they can't get the volunteers they need. That's why we've had some merging of those. And so having those hearings, I think, better prepared every component association to equally contribute. And I thought that was a fantastic improvement, so that everyone was as prepared as equally prepared, I think, which I thought was really cool to see. One thing that I'll say, I love being an observer at the House Delegates, just because it keeps me in the know, and then I know what's happening in our profession, right? I know if a member asks me what's happening, I can say these are the things that were discussed at the House of Delegates, and I appreciate being able to do that. But one thing I think I mentioned this to you, Jennifer, there at the AHIMA conference. One thing that I would have appreciated, I was registered to come to the meeting, and I registered as an observer. I would have appreciated being able to be an observer at those hearings, because when we got to the meeting, I didn't have all of the background. So some of the things that, as they were voting on those things, I didn't really understand the depth that had been considered in the hearings. So I love the hearings, and I think they're a fantastic ad and they should continue. But I would ask, could you maybe find out, can that be open to observers? You can put us on mute. We never should be talking. I mean, even in the House, you're supposed to be able to have the opportunity to speak up as an observer, but nobody ever has asked for observers to speak up. And I certainly probably would have every year. Even this year, just to say, you guys did a great job. Like, thanks for being prepared and all that, because it was significantly different.
Yeah.
But I would love
did
to
make a note.
Observer as a
Yeah.
at hearings as well. And I think otherwise, I think it was a very productive House Delegates meeting.
Yeah, I do too. And I did make a note of that to see, because we do have, the ability for the executive directors or in the component association leaders to join in those. So I did write that down to follow up to make sure that we can explore if that's possible to have the observers in the hearings.
Yeah, maybe something that we could even use, like the AI generated summaries that most of the systems are having today, to where if you have limitations on how many people can come in, maybe use those summaries to provide as a packet for observers in the future. That's a great idea, just hopefully to get folks engaged a little bit more. And that's our encouragement as a couple of former delegates is we have a lot of younger professionals that listen to the podcast, and a lot of students. When you get out into the workforce, get your butt volunteering at your state level and at the national level. Get in as a delegate. It is a fascinating place. It's a great place to network. So if you're looking for a place to go find a new job, I mean, the House of Delegates is a fantastic opportunity to do that. But also the actual national convention, which follows, or the annual, convention is what it's called, or conference, I guess, follows the House of Delegates. So tell us how that went this year.
Well, first, I want to just quickly, if you don't mind, I want to say one of my favorite parts of the House is when all of the CAs get up and they go to get their pictures taken by their flag.
Oh,
I love it.
I thought that was that's kind of a neat thing when that happens. So.
Yeah, it really is.
So how was the conference? Conference was really good. So we were in Minneapolis from, I think it was October 12th to the 14th. And as many people know, really it's comprised of students, educators, seasoned professionals, just all kinds of people from the health information profession. Our theme this year was Empower, Evolve, Impact. And so that was kind of cool because, was good for us, at least when we were trying to come up with content, to have a theme like that. But, in terms of attendance, we had nearly 2,100 people in person on site. So that's everybody from all of the attendees, the speakers, volunteers, exhibitors, sponsors, everybody. And comparing that to last year, we had just over 2,000 last year. So slightly higher. So I think in general, we were very, very pleased with the attendance. For the virtual, I think we had 720 something virtual attendees, which is just slightly below where we were last year for virtual attendees. So in general, it feels like people are appreciating the content, that it's, worthwhile, it's valuable. I mean, the vibe I thought it was awesome. I mean, these are always great events, I think. And each time I'm like, oh, that was so fun. That was the best one. But I really think this one, in my opinion, it felt the best. It felt like people were engaged. They were excited. They were energized. They were curious. I mean, there's so much talk about AI, and whether it's people were talking about the fear around it or they were talking about the excitement around it. I mean, it was pretty much like a theme through the whole thing.
Yeah, you can't have a podcast or a conference or anything these days without talking about AI.
It's illegal. It's illegal in health.
It is illegal. AI. Yeah. Well, I had to bring it up. My team. So I have, there's about 9 of us on my team, all credentialed health information professionals, focusing across all of our domains. And I was really proud of the team that pulled together a great pre-conference. So we had workshops, covered everything from AI to CDI to documentation, denials. We brought back the Privacy and Security Institute, which is amazing. So we had some really good attendance there. The morning sessions, I think we had like 85 attendees between the 2 workshops in the morning. And then the afternoon, we had 150 attendees, but the one that really pleasantly surprised us is we have a new Health Informatics Foundation's micro-credential. And so we offered the PrEP course live. as a workshop. And so we had 78 attendees attend that. So we were really, really pleased about that. And then the other thing that happened before conference, I just want to mention is we brought back the AOE, so the Assembly on Education workshop. They also had a networking reception that Saturday night, which also, if they attended AOE, they also had access to the educator luncheon that was on Tuesday. We had just over 100 people at the workshop, and then the luncheon, there was 165 people at the educator luncheon. So I think that was well attended, really appreciated. I heard so many positive things from our educators. I sat in at the beginning of the AOE and witnessed the first presentation on experiential learning. It was just so great, really good. We did a tabletop exercise, and which was really fun because something you can only really do when you're in person. So I'm really glad they took advantage of that. So, but yeah, it was from a content standpoint, I think it was a home run. What did you think?
I think those workshops are pretty interesting because, especially for the younger professionals that want to level up and keep adding the letters behind their name. Some of us that are getting older, it's like, well, I don't know how many more I need behind the name. But for the younger folks out there, you definitely should look at those workshops because to me, it's a lot easier to hear and learn in a classroom environment or a workshop environment than just trying to manage through a book. So I think those are really positive.
Yeah.
I thought that the content, the workshops that you all had curated for this year, there was a lot of excitement around it, Jennifer. I think there was a lot of excitement around the conference in general this year. The vibe definitely was different than any I've been to lately. It was, in a sense, in a weird way, it was both more relaxed and also more exciting at the same time. That's kind of how I felt about it. There was a chill vibe, but it was eagerness to learn, and see what all's there. And so I thought that the pre-conference vibe and excitement around the topics was great. I disagree with Seth, though. Older professionals not wanting or needing those new credentials or letters behind their name. No, sir. No, sir.
An old dog. No new tricks for this old dog.
I
we
still have to
learn
take
as
that.
much as we can, right?
Yes. Well, the exhibit hall was, when I think about the vibe, I think about the exhibit hall. I don't remember an exhibit hall being that vibrant, I guess. And I don't know if that was just, all of the excitement around AI and the what the different companies were talking about. And they also had some pretty cool little gimmicks to get people to their booths, which I thought was pretty fun. I saw a caricature artist at one booth and a Build-A-Bear at another booth. So that's kind of fun. But we had about 105 exhibitors. And, I think to the events team and, the rest of the AHIMA team that put on the conference, they put a lot of time and experience into this. And we've offered more of career type. We did LinkedIn reviews. We had the professional headshots again, which I think is, there was always a line there when I went by there. We had the AHIMA and HC Pro booths there staffed, and I know those were constantly had people at them, which was exciting. There were tech demos. We had a meetup hub, which was very, very cool. That was a little different. And we had some, shorter presentations at those. So it was, I don't know. I spent a lot of time in the exhibit hall.
I think we all spent more time in the exhibit hall. I did notice, I think I shared with Seth, there was a significant change in the, in this schedule where it put you as a participant, it seemed to put you in the exhibit hall more frequently. And then all of the sessions that you didn't get to attend I think I'm correct in saying that if I attended virtually, I have access. If I attended live, I have access virtually for a period of time. So I can get all the CEUs, but also I was able to explore the exhibit hall so this is what I notice in exhibit halls most of the time. People, if you have limited time, you run through to get all the swag and you don't stay for conversation. What I saw this year, because we did have extra time, was you might go through and look at all the booths and get the swag that you want, but then the next time that you're in there, you're actually having conversation with the vendors. And I've spoken
Mm-hmm.
to a few of the vendors since, and they felt like they had more meaningful conversation with the attendees, which I think was huge. So it was really different this year in terms of the amount of time we spent, but all of the vendors, I have to say thank you to all those vendors because they came with it. Like you talked about Build-A-Bear. I had my daughter-in-law a hat made. There was somebody making hats.
Wow.
So I had a take me to a pumpkin patch because it's fall, take me to a pumpkin patch and a little bow on the back. And somebody was pressing, they had 5 different like HIM sayings they were pressing onto like a little carry bag, there was somebody had a coffee cart there and they were buying you coffee from a fancy little mobile coffee cart. So the exhibit hall was great. I thought it was very different than ever. It was really cool to be in the exhibit hall this year.
There were a lot of sessions too, a lot of educational sessions at the different booths.
There were.
So I thought that was good too, just to be able to offer these really short, super focused sessions, whether they were case studies about an organization utilizing that particular, software or whatever it was. I enjoyed a lot of those. I was in one of those actually.
Yeah, so, I saw a single path coding for facility and Profi coding from one of the exhibitors, and man, it was fast. It was fantastic. Talk about efficiency gained. Like it was really good. So, I loved it. Well, let's talk a little bit about the content of the presenters. First of all, the coffee bean guy was phenomenal. What a story. I mean, his story is incredible. As a person who participates in jail ministry in my local county jail, I loved his story, Seth. Just in case you don't know who the coffee bean guy is, he had it all, went to prison, and then came out talking about a coffee bean, and he's phenomenal. So, but let's talk a little bit about the content. In addition to the kind of the keynotes for those motivational type things, what about the content? What'd you think of all the content? What seemed to be getting us the most excited as a profession?
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about the keynotes right off because so the first keynote, the opener his name was Damon West. And he's the author of Be a Coffee Bean. And then there was another book that I forgot the title of off the top of my head. But after serving time in prison, turned his life around. And one of his mentors, who happened to be also a prisoner, I believe, right? He talked about when you're in boiling water, you can either be a carrot, which softens, an egg that hardens, or be a coffee bean that sort of transforms the water. And so that was a pretty cool message and just kind of unbelievable, the story of how he didn't join, the gangs, and he made it to the whole other side. So that was pretty cool. And then our closing keynote was Olympian Dee Dee Trotter, 3-time Olympian. She had brought 2 gold medals with her, and she passed them through the entire auditorium, which was unbelievable. And then her message was, I can, I must, I will. And she was just full of energy, full of excitement, and just talked about how, we should take the pressure that we feel and push past it, push beyond our limits. And anyways, it was really, really good. I thought the keynotes were awesome. Our program we built around 7 tracks. So we brought back the coding track, of course, privacy and security with data, operations, policy and government, and career advancement. And like I said earlier, I have to say it again, so get your bingo card out, but AI, definitely a big thread running through so many of those different sessions because it's a thread that goes across our domains, and it's changing documentation, it's changing coding, it's changing governance. So, I mean, it's kind of all of the things. But I think a lot of the sessions too focused on how we as health information professionals, we need to build literacy around AI. We need to learn how to evaluate bias, how to ensure compliance for our organizations, how to select vendors, things like that. So, while I did hear, again, a lot around the fear of AI and not just so much is AI going to take our jobs, but I don't know anything about AI, those kinds of comments, which kind of surprised me. And so at AHIMA, and one of the things I'm taking away, well, one of many, is, the need that we have, from my standpoint, being responsible for professional development and making sure that our professionals are aware of, are upskilling in, skills and knowledge that are going to keep us relevant in this industry moving forward as it keeps changing. So I think just, the more the more we learn, the more confident we get, and the less scary it is. But yes, strong attendance in the sessions. The policy and government affairs really knocked it out of the park. I heard that one was really fun with Andrew and Kate. They had a fun session, and so they continue to do great work. But yeah, there's a lot on 42 CFR Part 2, because of course those changes are coming right upon us.
Sounds like a very rich spread of domain education for members and for those that could come. And for those of us that didn't travel, I'm the odd one on the group that wasn't there in Minneapolis. Right now I'm saving all my travel dollars for my daughter's gymnastics competitions, because those youth sports is soaking up all the money in the world right now. So I didn't get to go, right? And that's okay. It's not all members get the opportunity to go in person, but that doesn't mean we can't participate. Is that right? If I wasn't able to attend, how can I still seek this education and be a small part of the annual conference?
So AHIMA25 was hybrid. And so, if you were there on site, you earned up to 20 CEUs. We virtual live streamed 3 of the tracks. So the coding, privacy and security, and career advancement tracks were live streamed, and there was about 20 sessions available on that. And then the virtual attendees, you can continue to earn CEUs on demand through February 13th. I believe that that's available through February 13th. Now, one thing that we are working on, and this is not like a finalized thing, but because like for you, in your situation, Seth, like you weren't able to attend in person and you weren't able to purchase the virtual option, because that's the one thing, is the virtual option needed to be purchased before the conference was wrapped up. But because the content was so strong, and we had such great feedback on it, that we are actually exploring how we can sort of repackage this content and make it available again in a different format, so that people can sort of pick and choose what it is that they want to listen to. So whether it's a recording or if it's, the actual video footage of it or whatever, we're still working all that out, but we definitely don't want to have all this content go to waste.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's something that, for folks like me that typically don't travel to the national meeting, I need to know, I need to remember in the future that I can participate virtually throughout the event and have access to that for a little while. And if you guys offer the sort of on-demand a la carte version coming soon, breaking news here on HIPcast that it may be coming soon. But that's another great option for members to get their CEUs and have great education that is provided there.
Yeah, yes. And I will say, Jennifer, I hope that AHIMA, just let us know. HIPcast will be happy to share out the post when you figure out how to package that content. Cool. It was really good. So I want to make sure all our members have access to it that can possibly, because it was really good. So I do want to, we've got one more question that we've kind of talked about, but we didn't ask your HI journey. I'm going to save that till the end because I'm going to ask it in a specific way. So the next thing, just a little short snippet of AHIMA 2026. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's actually going to be in a city I've never been to, which is sort of unbelievable. I feel like I've been everywhere, but AHIMA 26 will be October 4th through the 6th. It's going to be at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in San Antonio, Texas. So we are going to be opening the call for presentations on November 1st. So keep your eye open for that. And then that'll be open through January 26th. And then there's a committee that reviews the submissions. That'll take place from January 27th through April 1st. And then the speakers will get notified mid-May of 2026. So I know AHIMA26 is going to be full of further acceleration, that where we're going, we're turning insight into action. We're continuing to advance our profession. And I can't even imagine, if things have changed so quickly just this year, how it's going to change by next year. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, San Antonio is a great town, military town. There's several bases there. I go there a few times a year for the day job, and it's a great town. The Riverwalk is fantastic. Great food. You're only a few hours from Austin as well, so Austin's a great little town. I'll be there next week, actually. So,
cool.
Yeah, that's a great location. Excited to head to San Antonio.
Yeah, I'm excited to go to San Antonio. I love San Antonio also. The food around there is pretty awesome. So I'm looking forward to going. And I agree with you. Things have changed so fast. I wonder what it's going to look like. Like the technology it's just evolving and turning over so quickly. Like I can't imagine what the vendors will be showing us next year. And I know that seems crazy. Like historically, it would take them 3 years to build something, but now you can build it in 3 weeks. And so I'm very excited to see what happens next time.
Well, and I hope we can showcase our fellow members, fellow health information professionals in, we keep talking about AI and what roles, how are our jobs going to transform, and what skills are going to be needed to do those jobs. And so I hope we can showcase some people that are in these new jobs that we think are going to be here, and kind of what skills, what trainings, what education, what do they need to do to better themselves to get into those roles and really inspire others to not be afraid and go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would be very exciting if we can do that. So I want to transition and ask you the question we usually ask first on the show. Tell us about your health information journey, but I want to stop for a second, and I really want to highlight you specifically. I mentioned at the beginning when I was kind of introing you that you've been a tenured health information professional. You've worked in our profession for a long time. You've made a huge impact on your state. And then you also were the president of AHIMA, of the board of directors. And now you're an AHIMA staff that's leading some really important work for professional development for our existing professionals. And so I want you to share your HI journey. How did you find this profession that we all love so much? But talk about your transition. What are some of the things that kind of led you to the place that you are today? And just share we do, as Seth mentioned, we have a lot of students, a lot of professional second professional folks. This is their second career that they're listening. And then we have just the regulars like the three of us. But I'd love to hear your health information journey. And I just want the members to recognize what your role is at AHIMA. So please tell us about your role at AHIMA before you tell us about your journey.
Okay, great. I appreciate the question. So my current role, I've been at AHIMA for about 15 months. I am the Senior Vice President of Health Information Career Advancement. And so basically that means my team and I, like I said, there's about 9 of us total, that we are responsible for all of the professional development that will keep our members and our profession really educated on, the current and upcoming technologies, knowledge, things that we need to know to stay relevant in our industry. We do that through creating courses, micro-credential, full credential prep materials, through webinars, through some summits. Last year, we had successful virtual coding and a virtual AI summit. Just try to be creative on reaching different audiences and how they might want to be receive the education. We also have our communities of practice, which 2 of my team members lead, and those are great because they're made up of health information professionals in the field today, and they help guide us on what resources they need now. And it's been remarkable to see the great work that's come out of those. And then finally, we also oversee the ACEP program. So that's the AHIMA Continuing Education Program, which is the program that basically it's for third party vendors and hospitals and things to be able to offer AHIMA approved CEUs. They can basically get reviewed and be able to get approved to do that. And then the train the trainer program also falls under my area. So all things learning, all things education. And so I'm really, really happy to be here. I have to pinch myself every day when I am here because I absolutely love it. Health information is my life. I didn't set out to be a health information professional. I set out to be a pharmacist. That's all I wanted to do. One track mind, that was it. So my freshman year of college, I went to UW-Madison as a freshman in pre-pharmacy and learned pretty quickly that was definitely not my calling. So the next year actually took me to North Carolina, where I lived for a couple of years, and I attended East Carolina University and found my passion in health information administration, which was called medical records administration at the time. But then when I returned back to Wisconsin, I just was so thankful that the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee had the health information program there. So I was able to finish and graduate in 1996 and got my RHIA right away. And then I was fortunate to get a job as a supervisor of medical information at a medium-sized hospital right out of college. So I learned a great deal reporting up to the director of health information, stayed there for a few years. And then I learned that actually the community hospital in my town was looking for the medical records coordinator. And I took that job, which was probably the most instrumental position, place of work that I've had in my career. When I started, we were just implementing Meditech as our electronic health record vendor. So I was involved intimately with the transition from paper medical records to the electronic health record. So my team and I were really just important levers in that whole process. I did go back to college. I got my MBA because I did have higher aspirations to be in hospital administration. And I did want to have more leadership over IT, over medical staff, over HIM. So thankfully, I did get my MBA, and my hospital CEO made me the first ever in our hospital vice president and chief information officer. And I was in that role for the next 13 years. And we did some really cool things there at that hospital. We were most wired 13 times. We were a stage 6 hospital by HIMSS. We partnered with LifePoint, and we earned the System IT Leadership Award the first year. And so we just did some really cool things. But when it was time for me to leave there, after it was been 20 years now, and I decided that time for a new challenge, and I wanted to follow the data because we spent this whole time leading up to putting in the electronic health record, complying with meaningful use and all that. And our systems were creating all this data now. So what can we do with this data to really improve the health of our communities? So I was really lucky. I was on the data advisory committee at our Wisconsin Hospital Association and learned of a position there, which I applied for, and so thankful that I got as the vice president privacy officer over the WHA Information Center. And I was there for about 6.5 years, where we handled all of the state's health information data from all of our hospitals and ambulatory surgery centers. We did lots of amazing things with the data, creating dashboards, creating publications and other reports. We actually managed the COVID-19 situational awareness dashboard for our state. So it was a really, really awesome opportunity to work with data, work with Tableau, and before I left, we started working with Power BI. So that was a really fun thing as a health information professional. And then finally, the last year and a half, well, not quite year and a half yet, but I'm at AHIMA, and I learned of this position. I just want to encourage people that, one of the things that has been a constant in my career is saying yes to opportunities, because that is really what's going to open doors. You can always say no after you say yes, but you can never say yes after you say no. So when things come up, say yes and explore them, because they may be the best thing you ever did. And so when I learned about this position, I read the job description. I wasn't sure, how we all are. I don't know, that's not really my, what I've been doing all my career, but no, I really have been. And so it's just been an honor to be here, to be able to advocate. And I mean, I feel responsible for the nearly 60,000 members we have and 45,000 credentialed non-members. I want our profession to grow into the future. And I think by, the work that we're doing at AHIMA, I know we are on the right path for that. So just, you're going to see me for a long time, I hope.
Well, hopefully we'll see you in San Antonio in a year at least.
Absolutely.
And probably see you at HIMS in the spring.
You go to HIMS?
I do. Yeah, I actually saw you. It was one of the last times it was Vegas. I looked over and I was like, "Hey, there's Jennifer," but you're on the other side of the street, and it's like, I'm with a random hillbilly yelling. Yeah. So
yeah,
I tend to go to HIMS every year through the day job. So lived in the technology world. So yeah, it's a fascinating journey. Thank you for sharing that, especially for our younger audience to get to hear how the HIM career is truly a journey. You're not going to start as the VP. We say that all the time. You're not going to be the top dog when you first come out of school. But if you say yes, you start building that experience. Wow, you can really shoot off like a SpaceX rocket, if I keep going with the Texas theme here. So thank you for sharing that. And this was great. I also appreciate the background on the conference this year, AHIMA25. For those members that still need CEUs, you can always look to AHIMA and your state associations as well for education. And then look forward to San Antonio. Start planning now. It's a great town.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to make one final comment on something that Jennifer said. Seth and I say this all the time. That we live in imposter syndrome every time we make a change. And Jennifer, you kind of lit that a little bit by saying, I read the description. I thought, I don't know, but yes, it is, and so maybe we shouldn't be 100% qualified for any role we take. We should be, depending on the level, 80% or 85% qualified. And you're going to have to learn that other 15%. But if you're not learning that 15%, you're not growing. So live in imposter syndrome for a while. Every time you make a change, it's okay. That's how you grow.
Makes you better. Yes.
Yeah, it makes you so much better. So thank you for coming on. Thanks for sharing about AHIMA and the House of Delegates and the pre-conference. Thanks for sharing your journey. And also thanks for your focus. Seth and I, we're the loudest voices that I know of that say we need a credentialed professionals at AHIMA. So thank you for yourself being there, but having a team of credentialed professionals doing this work. It means a lot to the members for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Shannan, until next time, my friend.
I'll see you next time, buddy.
Okay.